thing I thought is if I leave, maybe she will leave.
She will be convinced by you leaving. All right.
That it was a toxic environment but you have to understand, back then in the early 90s, there were not the programs available for women who were coming out of domestic violence. It was not very popular.
Yeah.
And so she felt like she had no options. She was estranged from her family. Her mother had already passed. Her dad was dead. She is an only child. She felt like she had no one.
Yeah.
And so when I left, she did. It was a wake-up call for her.
For her, yeah.
She left, but I didn't tell her where I was going outside of I was going to another city.
Okay.
And eventually I told her it was Atlanta. And then sometime later, she left him. So when I left, the police came and took him.
Okay.
And from that, I didn't press charges because I didn't want to stay behind. So I left and moved to Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Things went very bad very quickly with this gentleman, and I shouldn't even call him that.
He's
but
not at all.
things went really bad, really quick.
Yeah.
And I found myself in another desperate situation where he kicked me out.
Ah, all right. The
And
twist of it.
he had, prior to kicking me out, he took me to a nightclub. And because he knew the guy at the door, they didn't check my ID, they just let me in. And so I met another gentleman.
In the club?
In the club.
All right.
I'm calling them gentlemen only because it's the nicer thing to do. But, you know, it's just what happened. And so he actually worked for a record company. And he worked for a Hall of Fame music producer who was very well known in R&B and New Jack Swing and all of that in Atlanta, Georgia. And he said, I know exactly who you need to meet.
Okay.
Okay, because I told him the story in part, that I needed a place to stay.
So everyone that you were interacting with at this point, you could tell them what you have gone through. Is it because you were in a hopeless situation or because you thought they will give you a solution?
I thought they would help me.
Okay.
And so I was just looking for someone to help me long enough to get on my feet.
Okay.
Because at 16, I knew I had at least 2 years before I would not be on the radar. Because, you know, at 16, and in America they have, I don't know what they have here, but they have what's called truancy officers. So if you're not in school, you can be in all types of trouble with the courts, right? Juvenile, you would be considered a juvenile delinquent. You know, I could have been extradited back to Dallas, Texas. And so I spent that time almost in part like fugitive, like a fugitive. And so I just evaded, you know, being caught.
Okay.
And that was easy to do because this producer that I get a chance to meet, and I know who he is because I know his music. His music is everywhere.
Yeah.
And he said, you want to be in music videos?
Yeah.
He said, you're a beautiful lady. You want to be in music videos?
Okay.
I'm 16.
Yeah.
And
this almost like a breakthrough.
He has enough money to take care of me. I'm like, I can go to college. This is going to be wonderful. I can do all these things, get myself together. I felt like I struck a gold mine.
Yeah.
Until he told me the requirement. So he said, I'll take care of you.
Okay.
You'll have a place to stay. You'll be in music videos. You'll meet celebrities.
Okay.
But you have to hook my boys up.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So everything was in check up to that point?
Up to that point, you can only imagine the rock that was in my stomach when he said that.
Yeah.
And so I knew what he meant, but I didn't really understand
what he really meant.
What was that going to play out like. It's like, it was just this moment of shock where innocence meets the dark side.
Okay.
Right? And then it's a bitter pill to swallow because it's like, this is what I have to do to survive.
Yeah.
So I sucked it up, right?
Yeah.
And you get into